I'm glad you mentioned that. And Nick, you were excellent yesterday with the graphic, and I appreciate that.
I played a little trick on you. A little blind reveal. It's one of my favorite things.
As we're looking at what the Celtics should give up, I feel like we should toss that graphic up.
Oh,
again,
wow. Okay.
And take,
What's
and
good
take
for the goose is good for the gander.
So here are the numbers you tossed
learning.
up.
Do some producing here. Let's go, man.
Well, here are the numbers you tossed up yesterday. Well, that makes some sense. Look, Jaylen Brown, not so good.
Those are the season averages.
Season averages. Now, we didn't throw up there were minutes, which I think is a big factor in all this. Let's toss up the per 36-minute averages, which a lot of NBA teams look at as being a reasonable statistic to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes Jaylen Brown, because he's playing 25, 26 minutes a game?
Per 36 minutes averages, that's pretty close. Better rebounding numbers, comparable numbers across the board. Only Kyle Kuzma is a few points ahead. That makes those guys look like kind of the same type of player, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, which is, hold on, can we put that back if we could? Because I didn't know that was coming, but I enjoy this type of game. So if those are the per 36 numbers, you're right, it makes Jaylen Brown look way better than the per game numbers. But explain to me again why Jayson Tatum's the best piece, by far, why Jayson Tatum's the blue chipper that is head and shoulders better than Ingram and Kuzma. Because if we're normalizing for numbers, for minutes, and their shooting percentage is about the same, explain that one to me.
The explain it is because typically the stats on teams that are losing more games are a little more inflated, and people in the NBA world, I know my brother called me yesterday talking about, listen, man, when teams are losing games, you have to deflate them numbers that are guys that are playing on winning teams. So for your argument, that part is true. Where Boston is right now, you make a legitimate argument.
The numbers are more valuable on a winning team.
You're not even really debating that Tatum is the top guy in that.
No.
You're not. What you were debating was Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo.
Listen, Tatum, I believe, of those four players, and if we wanted to include Lonzo, but we don't need to, Tatum is the most valuable piece. What I am saying is, if you want to go to just per 36-minute numbers to try to push, I don't understand the need to push up Jaylen Brown. What did the NBA world think when he was drafted 3rd overall? Oh, that's a bit of a reach for an athletic defender. What was the book on him after year 1? Oh, you know what? If he develops a jump shot, he could be better than we thought. And there was a time period last year where the Celtics were so injured that he was thrust into their, I would say, 3rd option role, Tatum, Horford, Jaylen Brown, and he met the challenge for 4 weeks. And then he went back to being the guy we thought he was, an athletic defender who's going to be offensively challenged. I don't know why there's a need to act as if Jayson Tatum's not in the trade, the Celtics have a great trade of players. They have a great trade of picks to offer if that's what New Orleans wants. But we can't act like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Daniel Theis is a great haul of players. Now, picks I'll listen to. I just don't think Jaylen Brown is one of the, I don't know, with respect to Bill Simmons, 75 most valuable trade pieces in the NBA. And that's, to me, what my eyes tell me and what the numbers tell me.
Look, I think he has a higher upside than Kuzma. I think he has a higher upside than Ball. I think offensively he's better than you give him credit for. I think he struggled this season, but if you look at the numbers in January, when he started to figure it out, he's been considerably better. Now, you asked the question about what should the Celtics do? How deep should they go? I think there are two philosophies. If this goes by, and I think it's going to go by the trade deadline with Anthony Davis still in the Pelicans, there are two positions the Celtics have to take. One, if they believe, and they'll spend the next 3 months figuring this out, if they believe that Kyrie Irving is back and that Anthony Davis will ensure that Kyrie stays and that Kyrie staying will ensure Anthony Davis is going to be there, it's a Jayson Tatum-centric package.
Absolutely.
If they have to. They won't start with that, but if they have to, they put that chip on the table and they make that deal. The flip side of it, though, is that if Kyrie's like gone, if they decide, and I don't think this is going to happen, but if Kyrie says, I'm going somewhere else, then I think you pull kind of all the way back and you go back to that team that you saw at the end of last year. You keep Terry Rozier around long term and you build around Tatum, Brown, keep Gordon Hayward around and build that way. I mean, that is probably the two ways you're going to go. The more likely remains.
That doesn't sound real exciting.
I went to a conference finals.
This is
I mean, come on. Okay, wait a second. Wait a second.
Sorry.
So you're saying we're going to go in this era where Danny Ainge had all these picks. They go out and get Gordon Hayward. They trade for Kyrie. And now we're saying in 2019-20, Who's the team? Say that again.
Well, that's the
Tatum.
You're asking for situations. The backup plan is that. That's not the first plan. The first plan is, and the plan that they believe is going to work.
Kyrie and AD.
Is Kyrie and AD. They believe that's going to work. But if this all self-destructs, which some people like you think is going to happen, that's
and all it takes for it to self-destruct is Kyrie leaving. All it takes is one of the more, let's call it, unique players in the league. But this is, Man, I wish I could put my tweet on the screen. I tweeted this 3 days ago, and now it's happening in real time. I cannot wait for Anthony Davis, Kyrie, Gordon Hayward is going to be the best big three in the league to transition seamlessly to Tatum's going to be an MVP, Jaylen Brown's wicked underrated, and we still got Marcus Smart.
Nobody educated is going to say that though. Like that, it would be.
I feel like that's what you just said.
No, you asked. I was asked the question. I was like, here's the backup plan, and then you take all these draft picks and then try to deal it for somebody else down the line. You still put yourself in a position. It's not. Look, if that happens,
we didn't have
nobody
a show
should be
2
saying.
years ago. But wasn't that the theory?
What?
Oh, we're going to save all these picks and trade for a big star down the road. Now we're getting ready to sell that to the Celtics fans again?
No, this is the big star. Anthony Davis is the big star.
And Kyrie was the big star.
And they got Kyrie Irving. So it has worked a couple of times. And they've built the team to this point. Look, this was just the backup plan. And I don't think anybody would say that it's not a failure. It's a failure if they don't get Anthony Davis and Kyrie walks away. It's just that's what they'd probably turn to.
They're not barren of assets. No, I understand that part of it.
So all of this is predicated on Kyrie staying. Are they going to spend the next couple months just focused on that because that brings AD in and that maybe guarantees AD stays longer than a year?
It's a weird dynamic to be in because yes, the front office is going to do that, but they know that how the season ends is going to have a big impact on that. If they get beat in the first round by somebody, that's not going to be a good thing. If they go to the NBA Finals, I don't know that Kyrie Irving walks away from that either.
So you say the first round, I think everyone, even though I'm lower on the Celtics than most, now that the Pacers don't have Oladipo, there's 4 real legitimate contenders out east. They're going to end up the top 4 seeds. So I don't think anyone thinks a first-round exit's possible. But that second round of the East is going to be monstrous for everybody. Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston, and Philly, they're going to be playing each other. And so a second-round exit for any of those teams is on the board. But can I just circle back to something you said earlier, which really surprised me? You said that even if Kyrie's there, that you don't think the Celtics will start with Jayson Tatum being available. Why not? And Danny Ainge, I know he's full of confidence, but there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. I got to learn that every day myself. Like, what in the world makes Danny Ainge believe he has any reason to call up New Orleans and make an offer that doesn't include Jayson Tatum?
For the same reason the Lakers didn't go all in on their first round of offers. You don't do it right away. I mean, look, they know that it may ultimately cost them Jayson Tatum, but I think they'd like to explore
So are you
first.
of the theory there's a deal done without Jayson Tatum? Forget about Boston right now.
No, I don't think, no.
Okay.
Personally, I don't think.
Well, let's talk about that then, because you're not getting Anthony Davis without Tatum. Like, regardless
Most likely not.
Regardless of the art of negotiating. Like, that's not going to happen because that's not a better deal than what the Lakers offered.
And I think that if
I think that's up for debate, but
It's not up for debate that the Celtics can offer a same package without Jayson Tatum than the Lakers can.
Their draft picks are considerably better.
It's only on if the Pelicans, if they change what they've said, which is they want an all-star caliber player, and they transition to we want the best picks possible, then sure. If the Pelicans are saying what we want is the 2021 Grizzlies pick, we want those picks, fine, but that's not what they've been saying.
What about the little wrinkle of we'd like to stick it to the Lakers? Maybe this isn't the best deal we'll get from the Celtics, but can you imagine if AD ends up with Boston and not with the Lakers, which is a little bit of what Brian Windhorst was sort of saying, that right now they've sort of dangled this idea of maybe trading.
If I was the Pelicans, I wouldn't be concerned about maneuvering around the Lakers. I'd be more concerned about a couple years, am I going to be in Seattle?
Quick.
Okay, that's what I would be.
They got to make the best deal.
Exactly. Look, just to be clear about what I think the Celtics would do is that they would start with a deep pick-centric package probably Jaylen Brown. And then if it goes to Tatum, I think they'll turn around and say, okay, but we got to take some of these picks out of it. It's a negotiation. Like, there'd be two separate offers, and they'd want to retain some of their draft assets if they're putting the top player in this mix.
And when they don't get him, we're going to hear by somebody that works for the Boston Herald, oh, my God, Danny Ainge made the greatest offer, and he just barely missed out. Like we heard on every trade up until Kyrie Irving.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.